Abusia, you need come over channel so how a judge protects Abby. Quick one. Best shock say you're moving right a political highways. Lunia 1992 Constitution. Am I former trans here or more as a share a year Ghana and Rano. Omunyan Samono Munim Demono, who said, ye account to be a friend of contingency fund. Na eno ebe so Ghana asene se in case se so mine call eye imputuprumu ahohiehie mu a omu ebetimi awuramu na omakoyiska wo na omu edi abo omine ho bra ansam po na se ehu behia se omu ehwe se ombehia moa ewo eye amanone a omu aye na onia na nsenye nsuo to yi ena eye ato Forson eye finance minister yes or call a year accounting. Now, Omuhwe mu iska ewom 500 million Ghana cedi. Na naskan ko yi 350 million Ghana cedi. Omu ekwa koyi sesika no. Na omu de aso omu kwa ahonyehia mu omu ensuo eyiri fa omu se omu japade ema ebinum krampo na okasa ekra. Bebi omu de omu ti ebeto no akoya asem amu no. Oko account ni ma Accra High Court Ghana shi atoso na onua ene no first time a woti Ghana shi a amenye mre na minchiro kakra letin komana se payi pa ni nyina se me ya metehi ene wa ohwemi me de woka na me mpese metues ka na wabom ya ena odi aba bedan eye me employer se esumesi obenten wode meka no mbeso bitua na emom court ama mitumi krata se efri na ekoso wutua ne ka se sika na odi bemam emma no tua mame abra me bedan ne ka eno eni Ghana shi no onua not knowing say sa former administration na do dan kwa akufu ado no mo keke ka ho e de sa account we say akoye ade bi ya ensem fata ama ya de tabo atoso Ghana shi asika ayese honorable ato Forson ekwa kuyi na odi aboa ayetimamufu a omko ahonyehia mu onua wontimi akoyi sika no na besra wo se makasa bebre yemu wonsem na yehwe ne yeko ne de ba age politics urban.
Welcome to the program. As questions grow over the government's preparedness for this year's floods, Finance Minister Forson says a major legal and financial obstacle significantly undermined the country's disaster response. Speaking on PM Express last night, the minister disclosed that over 300 million Ghana cedis approved by Parliament for emergency flood relief could not be assessed because Ghana's constitutional contingency fund had been frozen under a High Court Ganeshi order. These comments come as flood-hit communities continue to grapple with the aftermath of a devastation of the floods.
Should be able to have emergency money as and when, because you can't prepare a budget for the year without anticipating that something unforeseen, for example, may have happened or will happen. And so the contingency vote has 361 million in that account. That is for the control of the Minister of Finance, and you inform Parliament how you use it. Now, when the unfortunate incident happened, His Excellency the President directed that I should go to Parliament and ask Parliament to release 350 million Ghana cedis for disaster mitigation and flood mitigation. Now, I went to Parliament, and the Finance Committee of Parliament did approve it, gave me a letter that I can access that money to be paid into the Disaster Management Committee's account to fix the situation that we found ourselves, the flooding. Unfortunately, when I got that approval and instructed the Controller and Accountant General to transfer same to the Disaster Management Committee, we found out that the account, the constitutional fund, the only emergency fund that this republic has been garnished by a High Court order. Simple put, you can't access that money. I don't know
when did this happen and why?
I don't know how it happened, but I protested. And
well, the finance minister has also accused the previous administration of diverting resources under the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project away from flood mitigation. According to him, funds earmarked for flood control interventions were instead used to finance luxury workshops. He says the government has since asked the World Bank to restructure the program so it can support urgent flood control projects.
About this GOV project, with a bit of pain and with how public money has been used, and most importantly, how loans that you repay has been used.
GOV is a loan.
GOV is a loan. It is not free money. It is indeed a loan. It is a loan that is not even concessional. It is a commercial loan because it doesn't meet the minimum concessionality. In the past, loans has been abused in this country. When we borrow for workshops, when we borrow to travel, when we borrow just to buy land cruisers and others, consultancy services and all. It hurts me to the extent that when you borrow money of that magnitude and in the name of a major project and ends up to use less than 50% of the said amount for the project in which you borrowed for. When the time comes for you to repay the loan, it hurts. It has to pay the loan. And I think I don't have my bank here. I would have shown you some of the things they use the money for, the details of what this money was used for. So when we took office, we flagged the usage, and I've been seeing requests for drawdown, and I asked what have they been using this money for, and then they are saying that give us money for this, give us money for this. So I asked what is this project designed for, and clearly they were spending on things that was not fixing the drains.
When you say they, you mean the previous government?
Yeah, the previous government was not spending money on, and that is how the program was designed. So I wrote to the World Bank and said that we need to repurpose some of this loan that has been contracted. I see the deficiency is not. Let me put it. The deficiency of or the structure of the loan and what was designed for, I'm not very comfortable with it.
Forson is Finance Minister. Maxwell Aklobato is with the Joy News research team and is joining me in studio for more on this. Maxwell, what does the data tell us about Ghana's preparedness before the floods set in?
Yeah, Ken, talk of preparedness before the floods, that's when the contingency fund actually comes in. You know, the contingency fund, as said by or established by the 1992 Constitution and Article 177, actually takes care of emergency or unforeseen expenditure that have not actually been appropriated or approved for. So when the flood set in, when the flood occurred in June, that's June 29, when the finance minister actually tried to fall on this fund, that's when he said that they've realized that this fund has actually been Ghana shade. And this is what I already told you about. That's the establishment of the fund under the Article 177 of the 1992 Constitution, and it has to actually deal with unforeseen or urgent expenditure with no existing budget provision. The clear example of where we have to actually fall on this contingency fund has to do with the COVID-19 period, where government actually had to go for 1.204 billion Ghana cedis from the fund, and that's the clear example. As we speak right now, there is 500 million Ghana cedis sitting in the fund, and this was what Forson actually wanted to fall on for the flood reliefs, as he stated, but apparently it has actually been Ghana shade. Ken, so we need to actually fund for the relief.
Right.
The finance minister said he has to actually tend towards the contingency vote, and the contingency vote is not controlled by the Parliamentary Committee of the Finance, but the fund actually is controlled by the Finance Committee of Parliament. So the vote actually has to do with expenditure or unforeseen expenditure by MDAs, ministries, departments, and then agencies.
Right.
So that's where the finance minister actually went for the 350 million Ghana cedi, and it actually forms part of the annual appropriation bill, and it's used for critical unforeseen expenditure during budget implementation by MDAs. And this is where the finance minister said that 350 million Ghana cedis for flood relief was drawn from the vote, but not the fund which has been Ghana shared.
Maxwell Aklobato with the Joy News Research and Data Team. Thank you very much, Maxwell. Let's go into Zoom right now and speak to the ranking member in Parliament's Works and Housing Committee, Martin J. Mensah Kosa. Martin, welcome to the program. Well, the finance minister says that the government was prevented from assessing the over 300 million cedis because the contingency fund had been frozen. Is that a valid explanation for the slow response?
Thank you very much, Kenneth, and thanks again for having me. A good afternoon to your viewers. That's quite of a big surprise. I mean, the aftermath of the rains and the subsequent overwhelming flooding that we saw, every step that government took, we in Parliament were made to believe was as a result of a government emergency response, born out of cabinet deliberations. If the cabinet of Ghana could convene and brainstorm on measures to mitigate subsequent floods and decided to access money from the contingency fund, and it never occurred to cabinet, of which the chief legal advisor to the president, attorney general, is a member, and they did not know that the contingency fund had a garnishing order, then it's quite strange. Absolutely strange. I don't even know then how these agencies or departments or ministries of government are coordinating to work. In the manner that we saw of these floods, it obviously had a certain arrangement between various ministries who had to put themselves together, pull strength together to deal with it. This particular claim raises a lot of questions that they either do not work together, they work on their own, or that synergy, that working together as a government is not there. There is no way the Attorney General who sits in cabinet, chief legal advisor, wouldn't have known the state of this contingency fund. And for you to have come to the Parliament of Ghana, spoken to the whole country, outlined these measures, only for us to be told that you went and you couldn't access the money. How are you working as a government? It's a major indictment that for me,
Hello, Martin, do I have you? Right, Martin J. Mensah Kosa is the ranking member of Parliament's Works and Housing Committee there, defending the accusations leveled against the previous administration on the slow response to the floods that occurred across the capital. Martin, do I have clear connection to you now?
Yes, I do. I'm here.
Right.
But to move quickly, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
okay.
can.
So to move quickly to the issues raised by the finance minister with regards to Garrett, again, respectfully, these are heavy untruths, complete falsehoods. And it's becoming the case that persons in government have two versions of each story. What is said on the streets or in the media, and when they come to the precincts of Parliament, whether at committee level or on the floor, it's a different matter. First of all, the implementation of Garrett has given rise to two reports. Report number 1, September 2024 by the World Bank. Report number 2, May 2025 by the World Bank. One was before the NPP exited in September, and then the other one is in May when the NDC is fully in charge. These two World Bank reports are very instructive for this conversation. At nowhere does the World Bank flag any wrongdoing or misuse of money No, you don't find it anywhere. Rather, the World Bank believes that in spite of the flooding that is happening all around us, there is a project to deal with it, and there's money which is not being released by the finance ministry. One would have thought that the finance ministry will eat a humble pie and get to fix this problem. Rather, when the World Bank report indicts them for sitting on money and not releasing for Garrett to be completed, they rather turn their backs on propaganda. Nowhere has the World Bank report, the two I've mentioned, indicate any wrongdoing. In fact, the World Bank loans are governed by very serious protocols or requirements. When the program is envisaged and then it is designed, all of this happens every step by the World Bank's input, up to the point where implementation happens and the program closes. In fact, on the 7th of July, I appeared on your network, PM Express, on the 6th, the following day on the 7th, at a meeting in Parliament involving the Works and Housing Committee, the Works and Housing Ministry, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Sanitation, and so on, chaired by the Honorable Adongo. The finance minister was represented by his deputy. In that meeting, none of these allegations came up. In fact, the only thing they had an issue was payment of consultants on the program.
Okay.
And that they were moving to terminate fees paid to consultants. The honorable Adongo made the point to the deputy finance minister that these are World Bank package programs and you cannot take out and replace at will. Once you want to alter any part of the program, you have to then go to the World Bank for a total review. So you cannot say, I don't.
We ain't some who team course or channel so. Mammy and also Jim, that's an so bad in the Dumbia Dominia. Ever saying us.